Hey, Startup Nation, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. And as I say level up, it doesn't feel right because Level Up is really about growing and expanding your business. And right now we're in a state of crisis. And Kate and I had much conversation about this topic today behind the scenes because we had to check in with where we're at. But we really thought that we needed to talk real talk about coronavirus and where we're at and where you guys are at. But before we dive in and just kind of share our authentic feelings and just bring light to maybe some of the stuff that you're going through, that we're going through, but also some of the hope and possibilities that you can do during this time, we just wanted to take a quick moment and thank our sponsor.
Yeah, we just wanted to say thank you so much to TherapyNotes for their partnership, their support for Startup Nation, and us being able to really continue to provide this content for you guys, especially during such a difficult time. I know it's been a roller coaster ride for so many of you and us, and we're all in the same boat together. So to be able to continue to provide the support and creating content, and this is our way of being able to serve you and connect with you and support you during this time, we couldn't appreciate it more from TherapyNotes and their support. So for anybody who's interested in an amazing comprehensive EHR platform, definitely check them out, and you can get your first 2 months for free with code PPS, as in private practice startup. You just go to therapynotes.com. So let's take a moment not a moment, but let's just dive into the realities of how this coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic is affecting us. And it has become a worldwide, obviously, impact on so many different levels. And just now, over the past 3 weeks or so, really trickling over into the US. I know it's really affected a lot of our other listeners in other countries sooner than us. If you missed our podcast with Dr. Camila how do you
Gamba.
pronounce Gamba? She has this beautiful Italian accent, but she actually came on and talked about what it was like in Milan, and we want to have her back for a round 2 to talk about that as well. And she's based out of Italy. So we're kind of like 3 weeks behind what she's gone through. And it has been so hard. Just to be honest, I've been having a really hard time personally because I'm still in the trenches with being a newborn mom. I'm up multiple times a night with my baby Jackson, and to have all of these unknowns and so much change in a short amount of time, not to mention my 4 going on 5-year-old, his birthday's next week, at home. And because he's not able to go to school, our group practice, everything has like come to a standstill with that income and being able to have people see their clients face to face at the office. There's just so many changes and so many unknowns, and that's created a lot of anxiety for me. Being a mom in that early stages can be kind of isolating already because you're almost in survival mode, or you kind of are already in survival mode. So having those other pieces that I could depend on for consistency in my life, like my son going to school every day, my husband going to work, Katie working at the private practice startup, and us just starting to get back into the groove with working together, with having the group practice and having that whole system perfectly systemized. So it was working. And then all of a sudden everything just comes to a complete standstill. It sent me for a major, anxiety provoking experience last week. I really struggled, and I just was filled with so much overwhelm and anxiety and fear. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can really relate to that. So much so that last week I couldn't be in the front lines and really didn't feel like I was in a place where I had anything left to give. And I love being able to be here to support you guys. And at the same time, when you're going through it and you're in the trenches and it's like really real and raw, and you don't feel like you're in that place where you can really give in the way that you would like to, sometimes you just have to step back and be okay with that. And I know Katie and I have kept in contact and had a lot of different conversations, and she'll share her experience, and she's been more in a place where she's able to be in the forefront with you guys. And I've been doing more tech work and stuff in the background, but it's been so hard. And I know a lot of you guys can relate to some of what I'm talking about, and some of you guys will relate to what Katie's talking about. And in the midst of all of these changes, it's been hard to kind of find my footing. Some of the things that have helped have been to just share what I'm going through with people that I'm close to stay connected, even though we're all social isolating. Today's day 11 for us. I mean, we're social distancing. Doesn't mean that social distancing that you have to be isolated, right? So looking for ways to stay connected has been something that's really helped for me. Creating a new routine and new schedule for us as a family, for myself working from home, my husband working from home, and then having 2 young kids, a baby that's, constantly needing to nurse every 2.5 to 3 hours, not sleeping at night, and having my son Landon home. It's been a big adjustment. So this is kind of like our new norm. And we don't really know how long this new norm will last. One of the things that I am grateful for, just to be honest and transparent, is that I actually don't have a full caseload. I don't have a caseload of any clients that I'm seeing at all right now. And that's something that's helped me to be able to get through this time, because I already am like giving so much at home with having the young kids and everything else that's on my plate. To have to be on for clients right now would be really, really hard when I'm in this place where I'm just feel like I'm not okay a lot of the times. And I'm grateful that I am just coming off of this maternity leave where I'd stepped away from my whole caseload. So I feel for those of you who are continuing to have a full caseload and navigate this with all of your clients, and knowing that some of you are in that place where you're not feeling okay and you're feeling completely anxious and overwhelmed and, out of control with all of this emotion, because it is so much out of our control. And that's really, really tough. And I just want to encourage you guys, and everybody needs mental health services more than ever right now. And the work that you guys do as a therapist is so, so, so important. But first and foremost, you have to be okay. So do what you need to do to make sure that you're okay. I found a way to do virtual Pilates. That's something that helps me to feel okay. It's something I'm doing a couple of times a week online virtually, and helps me to just be in the moment and focus on exactly where I'm at. And it's like something that I can do that's just for me. It's just reminds me of what it used to be like when I was getting out of the house, and I was able to do those things that help me feel like my own person, because I've been in that place with a newborn, and it kind of like rocks your whole identity, even though I've been through it more than once. So look for those opportunities of connection. Definitely practice a lot of self-care, and then also be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself. I was really hard on myself when this first started, because my house was like a zoo. I felt like I was living in a circus for the first couple of days of trying to regroup and reorganize, and learning to have not as rigid expectations of yourself, of your kids, of others, not having such high expectations, being more flexible. That's something that's been really, really helpful for me. I know this level up is going to be a little bit longer than it usually is, because we're getting a little bit more personal. And Katie, why don't we transition over to you?
Yeah, and I really thank you for sharing, Kate, because I know that when we talked about this yesterday, you weren't sure, right? You were like, well, I'm right in it. That's not always a good time. But the reality is we're human, and we're human just like you. And, this is the time for us to kind of share, really just to highlight your experience as well as ours, and, what we're doing. I know that, life for me is a little bit different than Kate. I don't have children, I don't have a newborn. So life is a little bit different, and really just, we've decided to quarantine ourselves. Just to be a little personal, this year has been very interesting for me as well. My spouse has had some health issues. I had a grandfather pass away, and my grandmother has been in rehab now, and hopefully she'll come out tomorrow. So life had been a little bit ungrounded. So for Kate, a little bit different, right? Because she had a newborn, and my personal life was a little bit ungrounded before all this happened. And then it just feels like, for me, it's almost like an experience of grief, right? I know that when my brother had passed away 11 years ago now, is that we were all grieving in different spaces and times, even though we're grieving the same person, right? And so some of us might be okay in one moment, and some of us might not be. And this is what it feels like, right? It's like, how much news do you watch, and how much don't you? And, how much do you like pull away and go inward to take care of yourself, and how much don't you, right? And that's what Kate was saying, is like, wherever you are, it's perfectly okay. And I think we need to, especially as mental health professionals, number one, take care of our own mental health.
Yes.
Reach out to other therapists, consult, just talk about nonsense, fun things, right? I know that in our group, like, there's this place for me where it's like, okay, COVID information, and then what about everyday stuff, right? And we had a great post that went out yesterday. Yesterday was March 23rd, National Puppy Day. And there was a ton of posts there. And then I posted, I was like, I want to be like sensitive, but I also want to help people feel okay. So then I had posted something on my own personal page, and I got like 70 posts on it. And it was, let's travel virtually together, and let's post some of the pictures that we love to travel to. And so there's this fine balance of, being supportive to you, not always knowing exactly what to say or do, having some sense of normal life, having, being prepared and proactive and things like that. So it is a very delicate balance, and it's a delicate balance for you too. And I think it is really just important just to honor where you're at, wherever that might be. And I know that, I choose when I can come out of the place of fear, and now is the time to do more self-care than ever. Your meditations, I was already working out on YouTube for many years anyway, so being home working out wasn't anything new for me, but really getting connected to those things that ground you and your artistic and expressions and, whatever it is. One of the things for me when I do come out of fear is service, right? Like I wax and wane from having some anxiety to feeling okay to then when I'm feeling okay is like, how can we serve? How can we serve? How can we serve? And, that's great and beautiful. And at the same time, there still needs to be a balance, right? As mental health professionals, we often kind of fast forward on service, right? And not much on self-care. So we are kind of learning ourselves anew. And this also, to me, I think about this as a place of like rediscovery, like discovering ourselves, discovering what's important to us, discovering so many new things, when we can move ourselves out of fear and really into clarity or intuition or faith, whatever that is for you. So like Kate said, we wanted to come on and just do like a real talk about where we're at and where you guys are at, share just, here it is. And also maybe give you guys some faith and inspiration, because that's what we're all about here at the Private Practice Startup. And, even though we will be kind of in and out and concerned that this too shall pass, right? Yes, will it have short and long-term effects? Absolutely. But we are in this together, and I'm excited to see now more than ever our community come together and even be stronger. I'm excited to see, your guys' own natural gifts and really what you have there in the world. And we'll think of creative things to put in the Facebook group so we can showcase you. And, I think of this time like, before the days of money, right? There was a lot of like barter of services, you know what I mean? And sharing. And we all have these all really natural, cool talents and gifts and things like that. And, I'm excited to see those emerge, and how you share those with your fellow colleagues and friends and even your clients. So we just want to take a moment. Kate, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to piggyback on that, there's so many lessons in this experience. And when we look to keep things in perspective and focus on the things that we can be grateful for, and then what else can we learn from this time? And I know sometimes when you're in it, it's really hard to see that, right? And sometimes it takes that stepping back or getting on the other side of it to be able to see those lessons. But even with how your business is structured, what can you learn there? How you have been living your daily life, what lessons can you learn there? Being home with young kids, if you have young kids, what lessons can you learn there? What lessons can you teach them? There's just, that is something that's been helping me get through. And I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, usually part of my morning routine is I was doing something called the 100-Day Sprint from John Lee Dumas. That is actually who we fashioned our podcast from. But I've just switched to journaling about gratitude, and that really helps. Like I can just notice like the fear and anxiety that I might wake up with. It just kind of waxes and wanes, and I come into a space of gratitude. And I think about, for those of you who work with couples, right, and specifically affairs, right, this is a time of crisis, and the beauty of our work that most people don't understand either, unless they've been through an affair or they specialize in affairs, is when we are in a state of crisis, there is like a beauty that comes out of that potentially, right? And I think it depends on how we look at it and the efforts that we place on that. So, I'm excited about that. It's the unknown, it's scary. Yeah, there's the fear factor, but there's also the unknown, the beauty of everything. So we're going to keep staying connected with you guys and, share information that, we do a lot of strategy stuff. So we'll share that as well. But you'll probably get a little bit more inside scoop on our lives and what's going on with us, because we know that you guys are in the same place. And again, we just really appreciate TherapyNotes for supporting this podcast and ultimate podcast. It's Level Up. And ultimately we couldn't do what we do without you guys. So, one of the things that I am going to share with you is that if we can serve you in any way, shoot us an email, kate@theprivatepracticestartup.com, post on the Facebook group. Not only us, but the community. Like, what are you needing and how can we serve you?
And
Because
also
that's where we're at.
look for the Ask Us thread. That's on Tuesdays in the Facebook group. You want to be able to look out for that. And if you have specific questions about what you're going through at this time related to COVID and navigating all of this personally and professionally, definitely ask us questions about that too. Or if it's just regular business stuff, we're happy to support you in any way that we can.
Yep. And as we say from Private Practice Startup, thanks for always allowing us to inspire you from startup to mastery. Take care, everybody.